guest here at CALMClass.com. This website is dedicated to one thing: to be able to give you a different mindset. To be able to stay calm in tough times is by changing how you think, because when you change how you think, it changes how you live. My name's Dwight Bain. I'll be your host through most of these lessons, but I'm really glad that you found us. I'm really glad that you're taking time out to watch a lesson that will be life-changing. So do this. Take good notes. Download the study guides. Let these life application principles make your life a better place. And then would you let us know how this is helping you? My thanks to you for watching. My thanks to our incredible team for making it happen. But most of all, my thanks to God, because He gives us principles that will change our life if we use them. Are you ready? Let's get started. Well, this morning, we've already had prayer. So let me tell you about the temptation sitting on your table. So those that are watching at CALMClass.com, of course, you can't eat how many?
Can't eat just one.
Can't eat just one. Oh, that's okay. You can open them up, take one down, pass it around. Let me tell you the story of George Crumb. George Crumb, 1853. George Crumb was a guy running a restaurant, and a man named Cornelius Vanderbilt, one of the wealthy Vanderbilt family, was visiting this restaurant he was running in Saratoga Springs, New York, upstate New York. Jay, you're part of the world.
Yes, sir.
Saratoga Springs, New York, 1853, and he was serving some fried potatoes. Some wealthy people are just very generous and altruistic. Cornelius Vanderbilt was not one of them. He cussed and said, "These potatoes are not fixed right. They're soggy and they're not salty enough." So George Crumb said, "Well, let me just fix your little boat." And he sliced a potato as thin as he could slice it and salted them unbearably and sent them back out. And Cornelius Vanderbilt went, "Now that's how it should be cooked." Potato chips were born. 1853. Potato chips, this was interesting to me. It's the number one snack, potato chips, not just this brand, but all brands. Number one snack is potato chips. Last year, those of you who want to make a fortune, last year, potato chips, just chips, not pretzels, potato chips, $4 billion with a B dollars. Wow. So they're right. You can't eat just one. In fact, do you know who was credited with coming up with that slogan? Do you remember the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz? His name was Burt Laird. And back in the 1930s, he came up with the phrase, and the marketing phrase for Lay's potato chips, "Bet you can't just eat one." And I've done some market research personally, I want you to know. And I found out that as much as I like Lay's potato chips, no, there's something that's much more tempting, much more problematic. But at least it's fun. See right here, it says Snickers fun size. Right? And you know it can't be bad for you because it says right on the label, fun. Right? You know it can't be fun. All right, you got to share with you got to share. You guys got to share with each other. Right? You got to share with each other. Because it was interesting. Sheila said, "Yeah, where's ours?" I ate it. Sheila said, the whole trick-or-treat thing, she said, "Shouldn't you save some of those for children?" I said, Children do not like Snickers fun size. And she said, "Give me those." And so, but I found out, because normally those aren't available at our home. And I found out that Three Musketeers, not tempting at all. Not tempting at all. Not my thing. Twix bars, serious temptation. Snickers fun size, yeah. Milky Way, I don't get it. I guess it's the peanut difference. Yeah. Is that what it is? Yeah, Milky Ways, yeah. Oh, yeah. But Three Musketeers, Sheila likes Three Musketeers. John?
Dark chocolate Milky Way.
Dark chocolate Milky Way. And I see a couple of people have told me that. So, market research. Eloise?
It's dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate. Well, here's what I know. The Lay's potato chip, the Cowardly Lion, Burt Laird, when he did his marketing and advertising in the 1930s and 1940s. That's how long that phrase has been around. But remember, potato chips potato chips since 1853. You can't just have one. Salty, crunchy. But behind all that, it really raises a good point. Can you say no? The Lay's Potato Chip Company, a brand of Pepsi, Lay's Potato Chips said, you can't eat just one. But what if there are other things in life that you can't say no to? In fact, I found a list. The hardest things to say in a relationship. Hardest things to say. And I just want you to circle what you think is the hardest. Here we go. This is from multiple different sources on the internet, multiple different places, multiple different groups. Hardest words to say in a relationship. Here we go. And I'll read these for those watching at CALMClass.com. Thanks for watching CALMClass. I was wrong. Goodbye. I'm an alcoholic. I'm sorry. I forgive you. You can't treat me this way. I want a divorce. I've lost my job. I need help. I want to see a therapist. You were right. You were adopted. Can you imagine? Mom, Dad, Grandma, Grandpa has died. I love you. That was interesting that that's hard to say, but apparently it is for some people. I lied to you. I'm pregnant. This is not about the money. Will you go out with me? I failed. I hate you. I have an addiction to drugs, pornography, gambling, and such. I've been seeing someone behind your back. That's a hard one. I'm in love with your significant other. In other words, I'm in love with your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife. I'm gay. I'm bisexual. I just don't like you. I have cancer and I'm dying. Man, that's hard. I cheated on you. I have a secret. I want to die. You're not very bright. And around the holidays, sometimes family members will say, you know, your sister was the smart one, right? You're fired. Boy, that's a hard thing to say. Because I know some passive bosses, they hire too fast and they fire too slow. All right? But that's hard for some people to say, you're fired. I can't stand you anymore. This next one, that's tough. I backed over your dog or your cat and killed them. It's like, man, that's rough. Oh yeah, and then the word no. All right, so based on multiple places I searched over the last few weeks, out of that entire list, and we all agree, those are hard things to say. Hard things to hear. Which one do you think was absolutely, by far, the number one hardest thing to say? All right, no, it's not it.
I forgive you.
I ran over your dog.
Ran over your dog? No, that's a tough one. That's not it.
I'm sorry.
Which one? I was wrong is hard for some people. That's not the hardest thing. Didn't come up number one. Marty?
I'm sorry?
I need help? That's a tough one. That's what did you say you need help? I'm so codependent. Let me run over. What can I do for you? What can I do? John?
That's got to be the lesson, no.
John Hart is correct. It is no. The hardest thing to say out of all the things, hardest thing statistically for people that came up again and again and again, it's unbelievably hard. Now, here's what's interesting. It's not hard for you to say no to some things, right? If you like pretzels, then maybe you don't like Lay's potato chips. If you like, and this is, I promise you, my wife likes Three Musketeers, not sure why. It is not hard for me. Those little Reese's peanut butter cups frozen in the freezer, that's like crack for her. And it's like, that doesn't sound very nice, does it? No. But it's, well, the thing is, it's not tempting. That doesn't tempt me. Dark chocolate now, yeah. Those little Dove chocolate things, yeah. I don't keep those in the house. I can eat the bag. Being able to say no. And we'll see this in a little bit. It's hard for, sometimes it's easy for me to say, well, why do you struggle with that? Struggle with like chewing tobacco. My wife does not struggle chewing tobacco at all. It's not even tempting to her. People, chewing tobacco is not really a struggle for me. Yeah, the jism afterwards, no, okay. Back. So when we look at the lesson, in Chicago, a couple months ago, at an event, 20 speakers, all top speakers. Number one speaker I wanted to hear was a speaker named Brene Brown. Brene Brown was there to talk about her newest book. It's called Rising Strong, The Reckoning, the Rumble, the Revolution. And because I'm such a big fan of the Orange County Public Library, checked this book out, read through it. On the Pat Williams Read a Book a Week, Change Your Life, really does change your life. Really does change your life. And so from that book, here's an interesting quote. dealing with the emotional reasons why we can't say no. The opposite of recognizing we're feeling something is to deny our emotions. The opposite of being curious is disengaging. When we deny our stories, we disengage from tough emotions. They don't go away. Instead, they own us. They define us. Our job is to not deny the story, but to defy the ending, to rise strong enough to recognize the story, rumble with the truth until we get to a place where we can think, yes, this is what happened. This is my truth. This is how I choose for my story to end. One of the truisms of wholehearted living is you either walk into your story knowing your truth, or you live outside your story hustling for worthiness. And you think, well, that's kind of psychological. She's a sociologist in Houston. But the part for me that was a big takeaway is because I grew up being told at the Christian school that my parents made great sacrifices for me to go to. They actually said, we're going to teach children to be nice. Nice Christian children. All right, but here's the problem with being nice. It's in your study guide. The problem and the danger of being too nice. Nice people have the hardest time saying no to their relatives. Nice people are so busy being nice that other people often take advantage of them. Nice people are afraid to say no because they think other people won't like them. Nice people usually can be terribly out of balance in some way because of their inability to say no. When you look into their personal and professional life, you will see total chaos in some areas because they don't understand the positive power of saying no. So when you look at, well, what is a chaotic life from somebody who can't say no, what does that look like? And again, I'll read the entire list for those watching at CALMClass.com and just be thinking through. Maybe some of these even apply to you. Because remember, it's easy for me to say no to certain things because it's not tempting. Tobacco, I grew up in a tobacco-free home. Tobacco is not tempting. I don't smell cigarette smoke like some of my friends who quit smoking and feel tempted by it. In fact, I don't really care for the smell of cigarette smoke at all. But Marita Bakery, which closed last year. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I've got some fellow, can I get a witness? Can I get a witness, man? That fresh baking bread at 3 o'clock in the morning. And they bake, I guess, until 7, 8 o'clock. So you'd be driving on Interstate 4 and you'd smell that and it's like, I need to get off in Michigan Street. I need to go over to Marita Bakery. This is pretty good stuff. Yeah.
By itself.
By itself.
What happened to them, Dwight? They shut down?
They shut down. They could get it made. They could get it made less expensive, and the real estate was more valuable for other stuff. Yeah. So big bakeries. But remember, we all could identify with that. But big tobacco factories, not as many people in here really identified with. Remember, it's easy for us to judge someone. Oh my goodness gracious, that person struggles with tobacco. Ooh, on them. Instead of saying, we all struggle with something. I mean, turn to somebody at your table and say, you struggle with something. You know you do. You're watching CALMClass.com. You struggle with something.
Dwight, how about living in Hershey, Pennsylvania?
Hershey, PA.
Yes.
Hershey, PA. The smell of that chocolate, man.
Even the street lights are shaped
Even
like
the street lights are shaped like candy kisses, right?
Yeah, and the sidewalks are the square.
Sidewalks, so in Hershey, PA, but we've talked to people in Hershey when we vacation there, and they say that after a while you get used to what? You get used to the smell. You get used to the smell. So after a while, maybe it's not as distracting. But here's the list. When somebody can't say no, their budget or their credit score says that they could really show some financial struggles. That's one way to not say no, is you can't say no to spending. Diet and food choices leading to elevated cholesterol or blood pressure, clinical obesity, or personal health problems. Boy, I've had that one. Continual passivity when facing conflict with others. Overflowing email inbox or a workspace leading to major productivity issues because it can't find anything. Cluttered kitchen table or cluttered closets or cluttered garages stacked high with stuff because they can't say no to throwing things away. Continually giving into temptation over desire. Exhausted by demanding bosses who use them. Habitual relationship problems, especially with people they're related to. Exploited by manipulative friends who use them. Empty and meaningless marriages because they're so resentful of the person they're married to for using them. Demanding or greedy children. Controlling relatives with unreasonable demands who use them. Chronic moodiness from being angry at feeling used by everybody around them. Attention avoiding behaviors like being afraid to ask for promotion for exceptional work. Escapism through alcohol, escapism through drugs, escapism through addictive behavior like pornography or sexuality or gambling. Escapism through materialism, or wasting money instead of saving money. Escapism through media addiction to TV, or media addiction to video games, or escapism through social media like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Resentment leading to lazy, unmotivated procrastination because they're so resentful. So these are some of the warning signs of people who can't say no. It is an incomplete list. At your table, I'd like you to see if you can come up with at least 3 more. I thought of 2 while Pastor David was talking about the adoption thing. So I thought of 2 more. See if you can come up with 3 more. All right? 3 more things that are a problem if you can't say no. 3 more things, other than what we listed, that are a problem when you can't say no. Get to know the people at your table. Please use your name. Well, everybody knows my name. No, they don't. Use your name. Hi, my name is Dwight, and here's what I think the 3 are. All right, you got it? Except don't say my name is Dwight. Say my name is Tim or John, or as the case may be. Get to know the people at your table. 3 more. Go. Sorry. So here we go. All right, Lynn said.
Loss of sleep.
Loss of sleep when you can't say no. Yeah, Jay Lynn with that.
It's hard to say no to distractions when we have something important to do.
Wow, good one. Distractions.
Being bullied.
Big
When
bully.
you can't say no, people bully you because they take advantage of your, and you push you and push you and push you.
Okay. Yeah. What else? Over here, Eloise.
You're so busy saying yes, you forget that there's 168 hours in the week and you're allowed to have some fun. And so you get it done at the end of the week and you're like, I didn't even have much fun this week. Because
Yeah.
you didn't take time because you were
So
saying yes,
busy.
yes, yes to all these things.
Yeah. Being able to say no to work.
I know I said yes to something I should have said no one time, and I couldn't do a very good job because I was already overwhelmed, but nobody would say yes. But then I heard people gossiping about me.
Gossip.
Yeah, saying like, well, yeah, she didn't do a very good job, and well, she shouldn't have done it, and oh, it hurt my feelings.
Yeah, gossip. Gossip was actually one of the 2 that was on my list. Gossip.
Oh, you have, oh, sorry.
I can't say no to a banana split or a Dairy Queen, and I can't say no to my niece.
DQ and your niece.
Yeah.
Right over here.
No to boundaries. Setting
Boundaries?
Right,
Yeah,
no to setting boundaries.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's hard to say no to needy relatives and friends who always want to borrow.
Yeah. The
And
neighbor
never-
wants
and never
to borrow
pay
the lawn
back.
equipment.
Yeah,
Right.
We
never
did
pay
that with
back.
lawn equipment.
You get
Yeah.
a high five.
How about on the holidays when everybody, those people that have holiday-itis, they want you to get up at 3 in the morning and do the turkey and do this, do that, so they can sit there and play football and do all this and that. What about that?
Hard to say no to the temptation to write letters to the editor.
He doesn't control that very well.
Yeah, control that one very well. All right, and then the one that I had on my list that everybody, I think it's hard for some people to say no to their temper.
Yes.
I think it's hard for them to say no to their temper. You ever known anybody like that? Ever been married to anybody like that?
Ever been somebody like
Ever been somebody like that? All right, so we all agree it's hard to say no. It's hard to say no to just being busy, to be able to stop and smell the roses. All right, so here's the principle. It's hard to see this behavior in ourselves, but I want you to know it's easy to see this in other people. Oh my goodness. That's why you can instantly think, why would they eat that? Because see, if you don't struggle with expensive sushi, I can't tell the difference between the expensive stuff and the cheap stuff. And my daughter, who's been to too many nice restaurants with her boyfriend, she said, Dad, how can you eat that stuff? That's just imitation crab meat. And I said, well, one, I'm allergic to crab meat, so if I ate the real thing, I'd have to have an EpiPen. Not hard when I'm in the Chesapeake Bay Area. I've had to say no to original crab cakes. People say, here, and I'll go, no, you don't understand how we cook it. No, and one time I said yes. It was at an event. They took me to a very nice restaurant. I could not breathe. It's very distressing. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, you shouldn't have eaten that. And I thought, you're just smack him in the head. Smack him in the head with a hammer.
You need to carry Benadryl.
Yeah, well, since then I carried Benadryl. because the Benadryl will clear it up, and the great thing is then I just go to sleep. And the people who are trying to tempt me with something, I'm already asleep. Right? I'm not tempted at all. When I'm asleep, temptation has no problem. On the list, why would they drink that? Well, why would they drink, that beer? There's a cure for that. Do the beer at car temperature. 100 degrees, 95 degrees. Does it have any more sugar in it? Does it have any more alcohol in it? You understand the only difference is temperature, right? Drink a hot Coke, drink a cold Coke, hot Pepsi, cold Pepsi. Temperature makes us feel better. Not the substance as much, just temperature. If you struggle with anxiety or struggle with certain things, if you can get to those walk-in freezers like a Target or a Walmart where it's about 20 degrees below zero, you can't feel anxious. That part of your brain shuts down. Temperature makes you feel better. So the 2-for-1 margaritas, not so much the margarita, it's the ice. And you can get ice for free. I just saved you a lot of money. There's your tip of the day. Why would they smoke that? Not hard for you to say no to weed. Why would they smoke that weed? It just makes no sense. Remember, it's easy to see in other people, hard to see in ourselves. Why would they tolerate that, allow that, be afraid to speak up? Why would they spend that, buy that, hoard that? Can't they just throw things away? No, hoarders hold on to things because of sentimental attachment. Why would they open the attachment? When all your relatives you didn't know you had in Nigeria who have $1 billion they want to give you, if you'll just give your social and your bank account, this person you've never heard of is going to give you 10%, right? Yeah. Why would they open that? Why would they believe that? Why would they post that? Why would they tell the lie? Why would they watch that? That's just rotting their brain. Why would you sit and watch that all day? Why would they loan that, sign that, say that, believe that? The list goes on and on. Easy to see this in other people. The goal of this lesson is for us to be able to see in ourselves, what do I need to say no to? So here's some principles. Instead of simply looking into the mirror and seeing why we can't say no for our own good or for the greater good of God's purpose in our lives. That's why reality TV exists. It's easier to watch somebody on reality TV mess up their life, and more entertaining. It's like, my life is screwed up, not as screwed up as their life. Their life, now that's screwed up. It's easier to watch that than it is to look in the mirror and say, I think I need to work on this in my own journey. The next principle, if you don't say no to the unhealthy issues, life will say no for you. If you can't say no to spending and maxing out your credit card, your credit score will say no for you. Life will say no for you. I couldn't say no to junk food, fried food, fast food, whatever was cheap and fast. Couldn't say no to it for years. But guess what? Heart attack said no for me. If you don't say no, life will say no for you. If you don't set a boundary in a relationship, eventually the relationship will fail. Or your health will fail first. If you take a look at this, no is the most powerful word to create positive change. No is a powerful, positive word. I know that sounds like an immediate, oh, wait a minute. No is positive. No is positive. In fact, when we look at the reasons, why don't people say no? They shouldn't drink it, smoke it, get married for the 7th time. Why would they do that? Here are the reasons. They don't think ahead to see the logical consequences. They've got self-concept issues like the doormat syndrome. They are afraid of getting punished by speaking up. There is a personality disorder called a dependent personality disorder where it's very hard psychologically for them to say no. They can't say no because they're trying to be everybody's friend, or they're trying to control other people through passive-aggressive behavior, or the job security. I'll never say no to my boss because then my boss will not fire me. No guarantee of that whatsoever. To be viewed as a dependable worker, the hope of eventually being paid money for always being the person who does more at work. No guarantee that you'll get paid more. You may just get used more. To be loved and accepted by everyone, to make up for feeling empty on the inside. Approval from others to make up for deep insecurities. The comfort or pleasure of never resisting a desire or demand. There was a film called Ella Enchanted, and it shows this princess who has a curse placed on her that she cannot say no, and once her relatives figure it out, they make her even commit petty crimes. One of them even says, I'm going to have you kill somebody because she can't say no. It can become pretty powerful and pretty deadly. The fear of losing a friend or losing a relative's love. Attempting to make other people love you more. Wanting people to like you. Now that's called codependency, and there's actually a list at some of the tables, a list of how to break codependency from the book called Codependency for Dummies by Darlene Lancer. Because codependency is a psychological condition where it's almost impossible to say no. I put into your study guide the difficulties, and it's half a page, of people who struggle with codependency. That's one of the reasons. But look at the next one. Lack of training to stay focused on the one thing. Steve Jobs said focus is about saying no. He was able to say, I'm not going to get distracted with things. I'm going to get focused. That's why when he came back from India, after being exposed to the teachings of the Buddha, he said, I'm going to be a vegan. I'm just, food's not going to be my master anymore. I'm going to wear the same outfit of clothes because I don't want to waste creativity and brain power. That's why he always wore, he lived in Northern California, where it's pretty cool. So he always wore black turtleneck, jeans, same shoes. He had 30 of those black turtlenecks. 30 of the same pair of jeans, because he stayed about the same body image after he went vegan. Because he said, I don't want to have to spend so much of my creative energy on, well, what should I wear today? There's some people that just get stressed out. They go to their closet. What should I wear? But people all around the world who have, the clothes on their back, they don't struggle with that one. It's pretty interesting. So when we take a look at this, if you know your one thing, remember the movie City Slickers, and the old cowboy's riding along and says to Billy Crystal's character, you know your problem? You don't know the one thing that's going to make you happy, the one thing that's going to bring fulfillment. And Billy Crystal leans forward in the saddle and says, what's the one thing? And the old cowboy says, that's what you have to figure out. Because if your one thing is to be a faithful follower of Jesus Christ, then saying no to certain temptations isn't as hard. Because my one yes is to God. If my one yes is, I want to be healthy and live longer and have less expensive medical bills, then saying no to things that hurt my health just got easier. If you don't know the one thing, you can be exploited and manipulated by advertisers. We bet you can't eat just one. And in one of the blog posts that I read, it was pretty interesting. There was a lady who said, since I heard that commercial in 1982, I've not eaten a Lay's potato chip just because you're not going to make me. And I thought, man, there's a piece of work. You're going to make me? No, you won't make me. And it's like, well, I think there's some other psychology going on there. Don't want to tread down that road too far. Yeah. Good point. Well, I don't know if she loves Pringles, but I know this. If you know your one thing, it's a lot easier to get focused and say no. If my one thing is to make the marriage work and be successful, then hanging out with my buds, going out to happy hour, never coming home, that doesn't make any sense if you want the relationship to work, right? If you want to be healthy, then eating a certain way, getting enough sleep makes more sense. Staying up to watch late night TV doesn't make sense if your one thing is, I want to get up and have devotional time with God in the mornings, not be rushed. If you start your day less stressed, you are a happier person. But if you don't know the one thing, you're going to be all over the place. Giving up on a life purpose of being used by God, I've seen that. Pat, that's what you and I were talking about earlier. If somebody feels so beaten down, they give up on, could God ever use me? And they just kind of go through life, and it's easy for them to be a doormat. The final one, if you don't know how to say no, nothing positive happens in your life. When you can't say no, your life can end in disaster. God says no to protect you. When you say no to others instead of saying in silence, God can use you as a catalyst for change. Speaking up to say no instead of lying helps others live out God's purpose. And then one of the strangest stories in the Bible, right from 1 Kings chapter 13. I put it into your study guide so you can read along with me. Strange story, but a powerful story of how not saying no could cost you everything. By the word of the Lord, a man of God came from Judah to Bethel as Jeroboam was standing by the altar to make an offering. By the word of the Lord, he cried out against the altar. And again, this is the holy altar. Altar! This is what the Lord says. A son named Josiah will be born to the house of David. On you he will sacrifice the priests to the high places who make offerings here. These were pagan priests. And human bones will be burned on you. That same day the man of God gave a sign. This is the sign the Lord has declared. The altar will be split apart, and the ashes on it will be poured out. When King Jeroboam heard what the man of God cried out against the altar at Bethel, we don't know this man's name, we just know he was a godly preacher, a priest. When King Jeroboam heard it, he stretched out his hand from the altar and said, "Seize him!" But the hand stretched out toward the man shriveled up, so he could not pull it back. Now that'll get your attention. I'm the king, I can do anything I want. Whoops, my hand just shriveled up and I can't move my arm. That'll get your attention. But look at this. So, and then the altar was split apart, its ashes were poured out according to the sign. Then the king said to the man of God, hand shriveled up, muscles are frozen, arm is frozen. He said to the man of God, intercede with the Lord, pray for me, my hand may be restored. So the man of God interceded with the Lord, and the man's hand was restored. And instead of shriveled up, literally, it's like the fingers are shriveled up. Just think of like the hand's gone. All of a sudden now his hand opens back up. So you're going to let that guy go and not arrest him, right? Because when you say arrest him, it's like, cool dude, don't understand what's going on, but you just go on your way. But it gets worse. King said to the man of God, come home with me for a meal, and I'm going to give you a gift. Proving that this man was unlike some of the preachers I've met. It's like free meal, free money. No. He said, no. Even if you were to give me half of the kingdom, I would not go with you, nor would I eat bread or even drink water here. For I was commanded by the word of the Lord, you must not eat bread or drink water, or even return by the same path that you came. So he took another road and didn't return by the way he came to Bethel. Now here's the deal. When you're on a prolonged fast, and you've had a big spiritual test, you're very vulnerable to a tempt. Sometimes after a big test, there can be a big fall. There can be a big tempt. Verse 11, there was a certain old prophet living in Bethel whose sons came and told the old prophet all that the man of God had done there that day. They told the father what he had said to the king. And their father said, which way did he go? Then, fast forward, verse 14, he rode after the man of God, found him. Now here's a problem. He was sitting under an oak, and he asked him, are you the man of God that came from Judah? I am, he said. So the prophet said to him, come home with me and eat. Now remember, this is a false prophet. Jeroboam was in the business of, for a certain amount of money, you could all of a sudden be a prophet. And this old man was one of those people. The guy from Judah wasn't. The man said, I cannot turn back, go to you. And he repeats the whole thing. Can't even eat, drink water. But watch this. Verse 18, the old prophet said, I too am a prophet, as you are. And an angel said to me by the word of the Lord, bring him back to your house so that he may eat bread and drink water. But he was lying to him. So the man of God returned with him, and he ate and drank in his house. Now, this is a problem. It had been very plain throughout 1 Kings 13. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. The old man lies to him, lures him back. Think about some of the relatives that you've known who lie. Oh yeah, I really just need $100 to make rent, but really it's $100 to buy booze. The old man lied to him to bring him back. And watch this, verse 20. While they were sitting at the table, the word of the Lord came to the old prophet who brought him back. He cried out to the man who had come from Judah, this is what the Lord says. You have defied the word of the Lord and not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. You came back and ate bread and drank water in the place where he told you not to eat or drink. Therefore, your body will not be buried in the tomb of your ancestors. In other words, you're a dead man. Wow. See, that's when you say, well, then I'll go ahead and take go ahead and just give me the whole thing of tiramisu and I'll take an apple pie. I mean, if I'm a dead man, it's just may as well have a big meal, right? When the prophet who had, verse 23. When the man of God finished eating and drinking, because he thought, what the heck, I'm just going to finish my meal. The prophet who had brought him back saddled his donkey. He went on his way. A lion met him on the road. The lion killed him, and his body was left lying in the road with both the donkey and the lion standing beside it. Some people who passed by saw the body lying there. That'll get your attention. Dead on the side of the road. With the lion standing beside the body, and they went and they reported it to the city where the old prophet lived. When the old prophet heard of it, he said, it's the man of God who defied the word of the Lord. The Lord has given him over to the lion, which has mauled him and killed him, as the word of the Lord had warned. Verse 27, the prophet said to his son, saddle the donkey. And he went out and found the body in the road with the donkey and the lion standing right next to it. Now this is attention-getting, because lions usually maul and eat, right? They haul it off for everybody else in the pride of lions to eat. Nope, it's not the case here. The lion had neither eaten the body nor mauled the donkey. They're just standing there. So the old prophet picked up the body of the man of God, laid it on the donkey, Not sure what happened to the lion in the story. And brought it back to his own city to mourn for him and bury him. Then he laid the body in his own tomb, and he mourned over him. And look at this with an exclamation point. Alas, my brother. See, that's how it works. It was this old lying man that got him killed. And that's the one who grieved the most at the funeral. Because that's how it works. Oh, if they hadn't died. And sometimes the one who's grieving and wailing the most is the one who manipulated that person the most. It's a really interesting dynamic. After burying him, he said to his sons, bury me in the same grave. Something supernatural would happen later in 1 Kings about that. And it goes on, even after that, Jeroboam hears all this supernatural stuff, and the king, the Bible plainly says, did not change his ways, and the whole country fell apart. Wouldn't it have been interesting? Would it have been interesting if instead of saying, well, you know what, I'm going to take a break and rest under the tree. And I'm not mad at the prophet, the young guy, for resting under the tree. He was tired, he'd come a long way, he was on a long, prolonged fast. No food, no water. Man, how long can you do that in a desert area? Yeah, Marty, do you have a question?
No, but it makes me think of Satan in the Garden of Eden going through this.
Yeah, well, it's a powerful story that shows plainly God said, don't do this. And he was warned multiple times. That was his message. But how many times are there people who maybe even good religious people, I'm not going to say good Christian people, but good religious, well, I will say good Christian people, and they struggle with alcohol. And they know, they tell other people. They struggle with maybe, eating, or they struggle with pot or pornography or gambling. And it's interesting, sometimes people that we love dearly will struggle with something. And they'll even tell us, don't you do it, but then they'll struggle with it. Mom, don't you remember Miss Berthy? Your mom would constantly tell me not to worry, but what did she struggle with? She would worry, but boy, she had great lessons, and she would teach, here, don't worry, here's a scripture on don't worry, but she'd struggle with worry. So sometimes, many times, we know what we need to do. That's not the problem. It's not, I know I should not smoke the tobacco. I should not smoke the marijuana. It's not a knowing problem. It's a doing problem. It's a doing problem. Let me just finish the rest of this and we can have a discussion. Freedom comes when we're broken enough and desperate enough to say no. When we're broken enough and desperate enough, that's when we're able to say no, because it's so painful. That's why there are some people who learn from a textbook and some people who learn from a teacher or a coach or a parent who says, now I wouldn't go out after midnight. Nothing good happens after the street lights come on. And nothing good happens after midnight. I heard that my whole childhood. And guess what? That's true. That's true. It's been my experience that in the middle of the day is not when people struggle with a lot of temptations. They're busy with school or work or different responsibilities. But the middle of the night, man, temptations can dominate. Being able to say no is powerful, but sometimes it happens after our own brokenness. After we get to a desperate place to say, oh God, you have to help me. From my journal, confident people have the power to address difficult issues because they've taken bold action to deal with insecurities and doubts in their own life first. And that's why I journal just about every day. Because journaling is a way to take all the different things that are going on and to try to sort through it on paper. And one of the things that helps me a lot, because I used to, I'd get used and I'd get mad and I'd resent it, and then I'd go to comfort food, and I found, through the help of a wonderful therapist, something happened, I'd feel used, and I'd go to my journal. I used to use email electronically, but then I accidentally sent one, because I just vent. I just go off. But then I accidentally sent one, it was like, yeah, that's not what I wanted to do here. It did not work well for me. But you know what? Being able to vent it out, get it out, express it, worked wonderful. So then instead of having to do Ben and Jerry's therapy, I was just able to say, why would I eat that many calories this time of day? That didn't make any sense. And I was able to go to sleep and sleep better than I ever have in my life. It was so simple. This happened, same feeling, but one of the most powerful things you can do, and do it with me, just take a big breath. Hold it. Now let it out real slow. So if you just take a big breath when you're really at that point of struggling, you take a big breath and then you think about it. what's really going on? You know, if Sheila said something that hurt my feelings, if I take a big breath, I'm allowed to say, you know, what you just said really was harsh. That hurt my feelings. And the weirdest thing, our marriage got better because I was able to talk instead of just going, I married a mean woman. I mean, she got off the broom today. I don't know what the problem is. Rhymes with? No. Okay, so moving right along. Rhymes with broom. Rhymes with broom. Shroom. When I was able to speak up, when I was dealing with, you know, here's more work projects, here's more work projects, here's more work, and just completely unreasonable to say, that's not going to work. Just being able to take a breath, and for me it works so well just to work it out on paper. Many of those turn into lessons. Because it's like, well, maybe if this helped me, it might help you. The next principle, courage, comes when we move from I can't say no to I have to say no. I have to say no. Stephanie Lahart said, let today mark a new beginning. Give yourself permission to say no without feeling guilty or feeling mean or feeling selfish. Anybody who gets upset and expects you to say yes all the time doesn't have your best interest at heart. Always remember, you have a right to say no without having to explain yourself. Anne Lamont said, no is a complete sentence. Grammatically, no is a complete sentence. No, period. That's a sentence. One of the very few words you can grammatically make a full sentence. So, what lack of no is blocking you from greater purposes? In other words, what lack of no is blocking me from God's greater purposes? Because if I say no to the devil, I can say yes to God. But if I say no to God, then am I saying yes to the devil? Final principle, sometimes no is the most spiritual and powerful word you could ever use. When Rosa Parks said, no, I'm not going to do that, she was a catalyst. When Dr. King said no, when Nelson Mandela said no, and when you start to look at the disciples after they were filled with the Holy Spirit, after the death, the burial, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ, after they were filled with the Holy Spirit, the religious leaders would say, don't you dare talk about this Jesus. And they said, we have to. They knew their one purpose. And they said, we have to. You can beat us, but we're going to keep talking about Jesus. Jesus Christ changed my life. When you have that kind of power, when you know what your one thing is, this is what God put me on this planet to do. When you know that one thing and you're focused, you can say no to the things that don't matter. So you can say yes to the things that last forever. The positive power of no. Let's pray that we all have it. Lord, thank you for these friends, those that watch at CALMClass.com. Help each of us to do what we can to say no to the things that don't matter so we can say yes to you, dear God. When we can say no, it can change our lives. I pray for that in Christ's holy name. Amen. God bless you. Tim, thank you. Hi, Dwight Bain here, and I want to tell you about CALMClass.com. The website that you came to is actually a teaching lesson that we record in Orlando, Florida, every single week. You can actually come be part of the live audience. If you're in Florida, maybe you're visiting the Orlando area, come check us out. We meet at 3000 South John Young Parkway. It's on the campus of First Baptist Orlando, which is actually a pretty large place. So what you're looking for is a large building by a lake. It's a big 3-story building called Faith Hall. And we're in Faith Hall, upstairs in room 301. But if you don't get a chance to come live to the presentation in Orlando, then if these lessons about making your life work better, to get past frustration in relationships, maybe frustrations on the job, maybe you're just kind of feeling beat up about what you believe. If you enjoy these lessons, would you do me a favor? Would you tell a friend? Because by your experience of telling other people, hey, this website helped me, these lessons helped me, when you're doing that, you're helping take the message that we teach in Orlando and to be able to spread that to the entire world. And thanks.